Hi guys, and welcome to the Ace Tanker for the M4A1 Revalorisé, the Tier 8 French Premium Medium Tank. This is a tank I've actually gotten a few requests to feature on the channel. I promised I would feature on it. It's a few days later than I was hoping, but it's on the channel eventually, so you guys got your wishes. You wanted me to talk about this tank. Well, yeah, it's another Tier 8 French Premium Medium, so that means it's going up against the CDC, and one of the questions I get asked frequently is which one is better, CDC or the M4A1. So I might as well, even though this is not a review, I might as well spend a little bit of time talking about the M4A1 Revalorisé because it's the first time the tank is featuring on the channel. It's a premium tank, so it's going to cost you gold, but you can buy it from the tech tree, which is quite nice. I've had the tank for quite a while, but I've only started playing it recently, and I haven't played too many games in the tank. Overall, I think it is probably pretty similar to the CDC, depending on the player who's driving it, because the two tanks, even though they're both Tier 8 French premium mediums, are completely different. The CDC gets absolutely no armor, but it's incredibly fast and maneuverable and has gun depression. The M4A1 doesn't have great gun depression and is not fast or maneuverable. It has a 40 km/h top speed. It gets worse horsepower to weight ratio than the CDC does, so it's definitely not a fast mobile medium tank. The CDC gets absolutely no armor, but the M4A1 Revalorisé unfortunately doesn't do much better in the armor stakes, because this is, as you can see from the hull shape, an M4, as the name would imply. So this is an M4 hull. So it's a Tier 5 tank that just happens to be a Tier 8 that can see Tier 10s. Not a good start. What it means is, even though the front of the tank is quite sloped, just like the Tier 5 equivalent, you've only got 50mm of frontal armor, you've got 38mm of side armor, 38mm of rear armor, and the only thing that makes this tank different from the M4 at Tier 5 is the turret, which was completely redesigned for this tank in order to allow it to fit this humongous, nasty 105mm gun. So the turret is new, however the turret only has 63mm frontal, side and rear armor, so yeah, it gets more armor than the CDC, but yeah, like I say, you're going to be taking your 50mm or 63mm of frontal armor up against Tier 8s, Tier 9s, and Tier 10s. So yeah, even though on paper technically it gets more armor than a CDC, it's still got very, very poor armor, but at least occasionally you have the chance to bounce a shot. So yeah, M4A1, based on the M4, it's a Tier 5 tank that happens to be a Tier 8. That's about all I could say. The name, oh yeah, the M4A1 Revalorisé. Revalorisé is basically French for upgrade. So it's an M4A1 upgrade. That's basically what it means. There is a little bit more information, but I'm going to be saving that for a review. I'll talk about that in the future. So really, what makes this tank different, or why might you want this tank? Well, it basically comes down to that horrible, huge, humongous gun on it. It is a 105mm, as I pointed out, and it fires APCR as standard. Now, I've heard a lot of people getting excited over the fact it fires APCR as standard. That means absolutely nothing, guys. You know, a lot of people seem to have a false impression that APCR happens to be better than AP, because usually APCR is considered premium ammo and AP is standard ammo on a lot of tanks, but you've got to remember, APCR is premium ammo. It gets more penetration than the AP on a lot of tanks, and therefore a lot of people consider it better. But if you took an AP shell and you took an APCR shell, who both had 200mm of penetration like this gun has, if you put the AP shell and the APCR shell side by side and compare them, then in most ways the AP is better. I'll be going into that in a future video where I talk about ammo, but basically APCR, it gets less normalization. Again, I'll go into that in a future video. It loses more penetration over distance, so it may have faster shell velocity than standard AP, but it also loses penetration over distance faster than AP does, and as I say, it performs slightly worse than AP does against sloped armor, so I'll get into all of that in the future, but I'm not going to be talking badly about this gun because it fires APCR, and I think AP is better, because the gun is very, very good. It's a Tier 8 premium tank that gets 200mm of penetration. Now, that's actually less penetration than the CDC gets, but compared to most premium tanks, that is a lot of penetration. And when you consider that the alpha damage is 390, that is huge. That's heavy tank alpha damage on a medium tank. And a lot of those heavy tanks that do 390 alpha damage are using 122 millimeters, and not only are they using bigger guns, but they've also got 175 millimeters of penetration. So the fact you've got 200 millimeters of penetration with 390 damage on 105 millimeter is actually quite special. Chuck in the faster shell velocity because of the APCR ammo, and the gun is quite good. However, the aim time isn't great, and the reload is quite poor. It takes about 11 seconds for me to reload this gun, and that's with equipment and some crew skills on it. So the rate of fire is only about 4.5 rounds a minute, which is not great. However, you can make it work. Now, it's not a standard medium tank, but I've heard a lot of people call this tank a sniper, and I would disagree. I don't think this is a good sniper. I've heard a lot of people tell me, no, you got to play this thing like a TD. No, there's no reason to play this thing like a TD, because it's a very, very big tank. It's very, very tall. And it lacks the camo rating that TDs get, so even if you're sitting at the back of the map and playing it like a TD, unfortunately you've got terrible aim time, which is going to affect your shots. APCR drops off more penetration over distance, unlike a lot of the TDs that you're going to be competing against, and you don't get your camo rating. So after firing your gun, you don't have TD camo rating, so it's a big target, no armor. It's not the best gun for sniping for those reasons I stated, and as I say, the camo rating is not amazing on the tank. So while it can snipe and you can play it like a TD, I don't think you're going to be doing the best in the tank if you play it that way. It doesn't forgive mistakes, but that doesn't mean you have to play it passively. You play it as a support tank, stick with other tanks, stay behind them, let them tank the damage, you pop out and do your huge damage or your huge alpha with this big gun. It's a support tank. I'm not going to be calling this thing a sniper, because I think there are much better snipers in the game. Any tank can snipe, but I think a lot of them can snipe better than this one, even though, as I say, a lot of reviewers or YouTubers seem to be calling this thing a TD or a sniper. I don't think so. It's not. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot more to talk about regarding the tank, but I kind of want to save all of that for the review. So this is the first ace tanker in the tank. We're just going to go. It's Himmelsdorf. It's a tier 9 game. So not the best matchup, but then on the other hand there were only 3 tier 9s on the other side, and no RT, but Himmelsdorf, it really doesn't matter, and I don't know why my countdown wasn't at 0. So here we go. As I say, I haven't played too many games in this tank, and it's very, very hard to say what's good about this tank, because as you can see, we're doing 40 kilometers an hour, which is our top speed. So it's not a fast tank. It's not a maneuverable tank. It doesn't have any armor. It is a big target. The camo rating is not great. You can't really trade damage. You can't brawl in this tank because you don't have the DPM. You might have big alpha, but you don't have DPM. The aim time is huge, the reload time is huge, so, there's very little, when you look at this tank on paper to recommend it, other than, yeah, okay, it's got fast shell velocity and it's got big alpha, but that's it. Other than that, it doesn't look anything special. I mean, it's got 390 meters of view range, which is pretty standard for a tier 8. So yeah, I mean, it's very, very hard to recommend this tank if you're just looking at the stats on paper, but what you can see here is the aim time is not amazing. You can see we've got gun depression issues, but we've got 390 damage, so that is a perfect perfect average roll on the Leopard PTA. You can see the shell velocity is also very, very good, but you are going to struggle with the gun depression now and again. And even though in this game I do play it a little bit more like a sniper, it's Himmelsdorf, so the last thing I want to be doing is brawling in this tank. I really do think it's a support tank. You need to move up with friendly tanks and, as I say, use them to tank the damage while you poke out, take shots. Okay, so RT is scaring that Leopard PTA away. So I've got to say the premium ammo on this, because the APCR is standard, the premium ammo is actually heat, which again has its strengths and weaknesses I'll talk about in a future video, but in the meantime, light tanks have moved up on the 1-2 line, so we move across and There we go. That's that big alpha. 359 damage. That was, you know, we didn't even need an average roll. A below average roll was enough to take out that bulldog. So I've got an Oni on the corner here, which means I can try and focus on the hill. As you can see, not a fast maneuverable tank. You're just trying to move around, trying to support friendlies, looking for shots. And then an IS-6 advances on the Oni. So this IS-6 could be problems. I mean, it could create problems. 200 millimeters of penetration has plenty of potential of bouncing in an IS-6. I didn't think the IS-6 was going to be quite so aggressive. The Oni is asking for help, so I move back. We've got a shot in the side of the turret, and again, a perfect average roll, almost 391. So just remember, you can roll incredibly high. You can get rolls up to close to 500 in this tank, but another shot into the side of the IS-6. He is not focused on me, but you can see the long reload here. I really want to be doing more damage to this guy, but the reload is so long, so go for the driver's hatch. IS-6 is now looking at me, so what I can do is, even though it's not a fast maneuverable tank, is I still got the turret ring on this IS-6 beaten, so I don't want to get hit. I'm using the Oni to protect myself, and we were able to take out the IS-6, so nice to get out of that engagement without taking any damage. So still on full health. We're up to 2,000 damage. There's an IS-2 on the hill, and we're back to aiming. 399. So we track the IS-2 in place. But as I say, reload and aim time not great on this tank, and there we go. Absolutely no armor. Invisible E75 puts a shot into my side from the hill. Just wondering whether or not I've got shots. It's a very, very tall tank, so sometimes you get shots when you don't expect them. You're actually able to see over rubble and obstacles better in this tank. When I do the review, or when I get around to doing the review, I'm going to show you some footage of getting shots over rubble that most tanks couldn't shoot over. But there we go, 415 on the side of an E75. Now, I'm not firing any premium ammo. I don't need premium ammo. As long as I'm getting side shots and rear shots on enemy tanks, I don't need premium ammo. So there's that long aim time. It's not a good tank for taking snapshots, so I miss out on some damage on a difficult shot on an enemy M4A1. But now it's time to move. We're winning comfortably. The score is 10-7. I'm up to almost 3k damage. And you can see that it's just not a fast maneuverable tank. When it comes to wrapping up at the end of games, we're doing our 40, well, we're actually doing about 35 kilometers an hour. Trying to get in, trying to do more damage. Just 3 tanks left on the enemy team. So, yeah, I think this tank, it's got a big heavy gun. Aim time and reload are similar to a heavy tank, so maneuverability is a little bit better than a standard heavy tank. So I think if you play this thing as a support, play with enemy tanks or friendly tanks around you, I think you get better results. So Ferdy and WZ-111 are both on low health. WZ has just fired, so I can take a hit. I'm on 935 damage or health here, so I can take a hit from this guy even if I have to. But get one more shot in, take out the Waffenträger Panzer IV, and now we just have a Super Pershing left, which hasn't been spotted. But I'm up to 3.6k damage, 2 kills, and an invisible Super Pershing. And then in chat, we get Kill Camper on A9. So is he a camper or is he AFK? That is the question. But most of my team seem to be going towards Cap. I mean, we've got TDs moving towards A1, we've got the rest of our team moving towards the cap zone, and I figure, you know what, I've got nothing to lose, I might as well go check A9. And again, we're struggling to reach 40 kilometers an hour, so this is really isn't... If you like playing medium tanks, I think you're going to find this one a little bit frustrating as regards its mobility and speed. So this type of mobility and speed might be fine at tier 5, but when you're up against tier 8s, 9s and 10s, it's going to hurt you. Especially with a lack of armor. But anyway, we're moving up. Everyone is saying A9, and it looks indeed as if the Super Pershing is AFK. And there you go. Long aim time. Huge aim time on this gun. Not good for taking snapshots. So we miss a shot. We hit where we aimed, but we actually failed to pen. So we aim more carefully. APCR, you're going to find yourself bouncing a lot more when you're shooting enemy tanks at distance with APCR than you are with AP. But as I say, I'll explain why in a future video, but we get another shot into the Super Pershing. So that gives us an extra, about 700 damage thanks to that AFK tank. But I'm not proud, but I'll take it. So yeah, as I say, I haven't played that many games in the M4A1 Revalorisé, and I would expect to hate it. I expected to dislike this tank immensely. I mean, it's got nothing going for it. It's not fast, it's not maneuverable, the view range is okay, but it's not amazing. The armor is absolutely dreadful, the aim time is poor, the accuracy is quite good when you let it aim in fully, but the aim, as I say, the aim time means quite often you're going to be taking shots without aiming fully, and then the accuracy is not amazing. The DPM is not great on the tank, and the reload is incredibly slow, which means you're not going to be doing very well against faster firing tanks. It's not a brawler, it's not a frontline tank, and it's not technically a very good sniper, even though a lot of people are giving that advice. I think it's a support tank here, best played at medium range as opposed to long range, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't have very much going for it. I mean, when you look at the positives of this tank, it only has two positives. It has fast shell velocity and big alpha. And I suppose technically the accuracy is okay if you are fully aimed, but it really doesn't have that many strengths. But yet, as I say, I was expecting to dislike this tank immensely, and I guess it's one of these tanks that maybe suits my playstyle because I've been having quite a few good games in it, and as much as I thought I'd hate this tank, I actually don't. I don't hate this tank at all. I think it is a very solid tier 8 premium tank. As I say, I'm going to do a much bigger review on this tank in future, but yeah, I mean, it fits right in. It's not overpowered, it's not underpowered. It is a premium tank that will earn you credits, it will train up your crews, and, you know, it's not overpowered or underpowered as a tier 8 medium tank. It's right where premium tanks should be, and that is not quite as good as a fully upgraded tier 8 medium tank at tier 8, but better than stock tier 8 medium tanks. So yeah, I don't think it's a terrible tank. I don't think it's the best tier 8 premium tank you can buy. I think personally, if you like playing medium tanks, maybe the AMX CDC is a better purchase. But yeah, I mean, this tank performs, and it's surprising. It really is surprising how many good games I had in it, and I've enjoyed the tank, even though, as I say, on paper it doesn't seem to have any strengths, but that's as close as you're going to get to a review, guys. This is my first ace tanker in the tank. It was a Confederate. We also picked up high caliber. Not bad in a tier 9 game. It could have been worse, tier 10 game. So we finished top on XP with 1283, 4,331 damage done, and 2 kills. So 14 shots fired, 13 hits and 12 penetrations. So you can see the accuracy. The only shots I missed were the shots where I wasn't fully aimed. There were shots where I was taking snapshots. Fully aimed, the accuracy is very good, and when you combine nice penetration of 200 millimeters of penetration for a premium tank with 390 alpha damage, the damage it can build up, even though the DPM is not amazing. As I say, most of my damage was done at a distance of less than 300 meters, and that's where I think the tank performs best. If you're taking shots for more than 3,000 meters, then there's a good chance, or more of a chance, of your shots bouncing because it's APC or not AP. But you know, if you're playing it at medium a support role, then I think the gun can be very good, the penetration can be very good, and you don't need to fire that much premium ammo. Didn't fire any in that particular game. So we spotted 2, damaged 8, destroyed 2, did 111 assistance damage, and earned 109,000 credits because we weren't firing any premium. You can see that the ammo costs are very cheap, considering the alpha damage. The alpha damage, 390 alpha damage, and the ammo costs are incredibly cheap. It's a very, very good moneymaker if you get the opportunity to do damage. Probably one of the better tier 8 moneymakers because the ammo is so cheap compared to the alpha damage. The repair costs very, very cheap. Ammo cost cheap. I mean, everything is cheap. It's a very good money maker. It wasn't my first game of the day. I actually sat down to play a few games in the tank in order to feel it out and see what it was like first time playing it. But yeah, the M4A1 upgrade, or the Revalorisé, it's not a terrible tank. That's what I'm going to say, guys. On paper, if you compare it and you listen to a lot of people, it's terrible. It has very few strengths, but yet for some reason it seems to work, and I'm still trying to put my finger on that. I expected to hate it, and I don't. I think it's actually okay. So yeah, I don't think it's a terrible purchase. I think a lot of it's down to your playstyle, and it eventually comes down to this. If you like playing fast, mobile, medium tanks, buy a CDC, and if you like playing a slower, laid-back game, maybe the Revalorisé is a better purchase for you. As I say, try not to play it as a tank destroyer because I think it'll be a little bit more disappointing. Try and play it more as a support tank. It can snipe, but I think its best role is as support. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.